CO, Halito. Peace to everybody. Peace to everybody tuning in. I appreciate y'all for tuning in with me for my Dife FEU Fridays, Flambeau Fridays, Fire Fridays. I appreciate y'all. I told y'all I was going to start showing some TLC to my YouTube channel. Yes, I have a partnership channel, 2 of them. Make sure y'all check them out. Master's Table Talk, me and my cousin, we promo and advertise our products and services. And Southeastern Talking Stick Podcast, if you want that raw Indigenous history, her story. All right. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. We gonna get into it. Peace. It's MardiGras Carnival season. I'm representing, baby. Yeah, I'm representing. Peace, pony locks. Peace. Yes. So we're getting into some her story, some history today. Yes. Let me put on my little readers because we about to go in, all right? How y'all doing tonight on this Flambeau Dife FEU Fire Fridays? How y'all doing tonight? I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to get into a little her story, history about Carnival and MardiGras. All right. So, I'm going to show my disclaimer real quick because we about to... All right. So, disclaimer, baby. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Disclaimer, baby. So, the question is, who you can tell me where MardiGras and Carnival originated? Who out there could tell me? Is it the diaspora, the Caribbean, the diaspora, the diaspora? We got Trinidad and Tobago represented. We got Louisiana, the whole state of Louisiana the original Louisiana. And mainly, like, I would say, in my personal opinion, the capital of MardiGras Carnival is New Orleans. New Orleans, don't nobody do it like the NOLA, baby. Don't nobody do it like New Orleans. So I gotta give a shout out. It's one of my favorite places in the universe. All right, New Orleans, Louisiana. Don't nobody do it like them. Or Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, Alabama. All right. So we got the diaspora. We have New Orleans, Louisiana, the whole state of Louisiana. And then we have Mobile, Alabama. These are, like, I would say, the pinnacle places where Carnival MardiGras is at its core, at its essence. These three main areas. Now, Florida, they do go hard for Carnival. They do. Now, on my bucket list, now, I have spent Mardi Gras in several different days, seasons in New Orleans, Louisiana. I love it there. I love it there. There's no place like it. So I got to give shout out to New Orleans, Louisiana. I have spent Mardi Gras time there, so I know what it's like. But to be in Mobile, Alabama for Mardi Gras Carnival, bucket list. The Caribbean, the diaspora, I got to be there for Carnival season. Bucket list. Who is with me? Yeah, ain't nothing like the second line, baby. Nothing like it. Yes. Yes, so this is why I pose this statement / question. You can tell me where Mardi Gras and Carnival originated. These three main areas. Okay? I was trying to get to the picture that I had with all three on the screen. The Caribbean, the diaspora, New Orleans, Louisiana, the whole state of Louisiana, and Mobile, Alabama. Those are the three areas that we're going to concentrate today. We're going to concentrate on those places today. Now, of course, I have to say that our ancestors, our dark indigenous ancestors throughout the world, have been celebrating our cultural festivals, feasts, and ceremonies for a long ass fucking time. Long time, right? Okay. We was doing this before the colonizers, okay? And then when the colonizers came, they mixed the little elements of Catholicism, all right? Judeo-Christianity. it's seeped in there, right? It's seeped in there, right? So we're going to look at a couple of things today. All right. And I will have some more installments because we count down to Carnival MardiGras. We count down to Lundi Gras the night before, that Monday. And then Fat Tuesday, MardiGras is all out. But we celebrate leading up to that. We count down, right? So we're going to look at a couple of places, right? So right here, yes, this is me right here representing. And you see all these beautiful different shades of that melanin richness, that melanin just popping, right? All over. So you have all these images. Carnival and MardiGras. You got the Caribbean represented. I put Trinidad and Tobago right there. The Caribbean. We got Mobile, Alabama. We got New Orleans, Louisiana, the whole state of Louisiana. Okay. So we got representation, properly showing respect to our ancestors that started this shit. They started it, right? Our people are full of culture, spirituality, just richness of her story and history. Don't let nobody tell you different. They try to say melanated people don't have culture. Yes, we the fuck do. We have culture. They have learned from us, copied from us. Destiny swapping and all that bullshit from us. Melanated people across the world, all 7 continents. When you go back to the origins, you have melanated people of all shades of brown, beautiful brown, okay? From the darkest to the lightest, all right? So, all right, let's go here. I got some books. I'm going to share. We're going to look at right here, Carnival, Candomblé, and Calypso, traditions in the making. We're going to look at this. All right, we're going to look at this book right here. And then we're also going to look at the Journal of American Folklore, right? Trinidad Carnival, the cultural politics of a transnational festival. All right, we're going to look at that. And then we're going to look at what National Geographic had to say. We're going to look at them too. It's Carnival season in the Caribbean. Here's how to experience it. We're going to look at that. And we're going to check out the Smithsonian. All right. A brief history of how Carnival is celebrated around the world. Around the world. We're going to look at that. And we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this. This is from history.com. We're going to check them out and see what they got to say. We're going to look at that. And we're going to do a brief look at the MardiGras Indians. I have some fire in the hole for this one. We're going to go hard on an episode about the MardiGras Indians. I'm going to have a special guest for this one. But we're going to briefly touch on the MardiGras Indians, the Carnival Indians, all right? Negro Indians, all right? Creole culture. And we're going to look at the Backstreet Cultural Museum, just a brief look, all right? We're going to look at that. So these are the things we will touch on today. All right. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank y'all. Wado Yakoki Shonabishchi. Merci beaucoup. Rassiez. Thank you. Thank you for everybody tuning in. And that will tune in later. Because I know the spies is out. All right. So let's get started, right? So the origins of Carnival are rooted in also, yes, dark indigenous tribes across the world. We have festivals, ceremonies to celebrate our culture, our heritage. All right. And we had a time of fasting. We had a time of living our lives. We had a time of celebration, festival, party, all of that going hard. We hit both sides of the scale, right? The light and the dark. We have a balance of it. We are the custodians of balance, melanated people across the world. Okay. We are the standard. They look to us for culture, spirituality, richness of heritage. They look to us. They look to us so much that they have stolen shit, right? So, also, we have to say that it does have things that have usurped it or tainted it. Excuse me. Yes, our indigenous cultural celebrations first. And then we have the Romans and the Greeks. All right. Now, they say the Carnival of Venice is recognized as one of the oldest. All right. You have documents mentioning them celebrating this in 1094. And it became a public holiday in 1296. All right. The Carnival of Venice, right? Also, okay, ancient roots of ancient Roman Saturnalia. That shit got in there, it mixed in there, all right? Because indigenous beings, we were here before 1094. Our ancestors were here before 1094. Let's just get that fucking straight right now. Before 1094, before 1296, all right? But we had the little Romans and the Greeks, you know, getting a Dionysus shit mixed up in there. It's balanced to shit. We can show reverence and respect to our ancestors' culture and ways and traditions. We can do it in balance. It's a time for everything. And then you have people that have brought straight chaos and debauchery to it, right? So they brought some of their little shit and the Catholicism in there, right? So we said the Carnival of Venice in Italy, right? Now, it got its formal recognition in 1296. We have the Carnival of Pugignano, Putignano in Italy. All right, the Carnival of Venice, beginning in 1394, is considered by some to be the oldest and longest running carnival in Europe, right? The oldest Caribbean, the diaspora, we have Trinidad and Tobago. All right. It is recognized as the original of the modern Caribbean carnival, emerging in the late 18th century as a mix of French, all right? You got the mix of the French in there, the French masquerade, and indentured servant prisoners of war. Those were the dark-skinned indigenous peoples that were the indentured servants and enslaved peoples. Our rituals. So in Trinidad and Tobago, which is a part of the Caribbean, which is part of the diaspora, all right, they have a mixture of dark-skinned indigenous peoples' heritage and culture mixed with the other shit that I just named, right? Now, modern carnival is okay, so the carnival before was pre-Lent, because in MardiGras, we celebrate all up until Fat Tuesday. That's when that's the last day to go hard. Just all out, party, enjoy yourself, celebrate heritage and culture, all of that. And then the next day is the Ash Wednesday, where you start Lent. That's when you ask for forgiveness, you pray, and you fast from something, right? So you have the pre-Lent era, and then you have the Lent era. All right, that's where that Catholicism shit creeped in. All right, so they call it pagan traditions and shit, right? They try to call our indigenous ancestors ceremonial and festivals and rituals pagan shit, right? They try to do it in a derogatory tone. That's what they try to do, right? That's what they try to do. But the roots is so deep. The roots are so deep. All right. It also marks the changing of seasons and to ward off evil spirits. All right. So let's go here. Let me go to let's look at this one. And then we're going to get to the book. All right. All right. It's Carnival season in the Caribbean. Here's how to experience it. It's more than just a party. Carnival is a tradition steeped in history. We delve into unique celebrations across the islands, from stick fighting and chipping in Trinidad to Junkanoo in the Bahamas. All right. That's why I had to represent the Caribbean. All right. So they are so beautiful, gorgeous. In Barbados, you have the Grand Cadoument Day. It's traditionally held on the first Monday in August every year to mark the end of a 6-week celebration, crop over, and the end of the sugarcane harvest. All right. To celebrate the end of the sugarcane harvest. Now, my previous installments on Fire Fridays, Flambeau Fridays, Defer Fridays, Pho Fridays, we covered the sugarcane crops and the sugarcane plantations. We covered that, right? So our ancestors was putting in blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, hard labor, being sugarcane sharecroppers, right? Skillful masters at the shit, right? Because we knew how to till our land and make it be fruitful and multiply. We knew how to do that. Dark-skinned indigenous people, we knew how to do that before the colonizers, right? We knew how to do that shit. So this is a celebration, especially in the diaspora, the diaspora. It is a celebration after the sugarcane harvest. So if you knew or if you missed the previous ones, you can look at the installment I did about the sugarcane plantations. All right. And how much hard work our ancestors endured doing that shit. Right. So every time you take a sip of rum, every time you take a sip, every time you put sugar in your coffee, your tea, in your food, whatever, show some respect to the ancestors because they was putting in work, okay? So this was a celebratory thing, right? So shout out to them for doing this, okay? More than 24 countries make up the Caribbean, each with its own vernacular, history, food, and culture. Let me do a check real quick. Let me do a check real
Why
quick.
do you post every...
Okay. All right. So, all right. More than 24 countries make up the Caribbean, each with its own vernacular, our own fucking language, our own culture, our own spirituality, our own her story, history, festivals, rituals, all that, ceremony, food, culture. Despite these distinctions, one tradition connects every island: Carnival. All right. Born from the ingenuity of enslaved indigenous peoples. They always put the moniker of African on there. So dodge the hijack. That is a misnomer that they insert because dark-skinned indigenous people from every country are not African. We have 7 continents, and there's different countries, cities, towns, states, all that. All right. And they are not African as a whole. Yes, Agbulan, Akilbulan that place is a part of the diaspora, but it is not everybody. Indigenous people were here first. The origines were here first, and they were melanated people. All right. So let's get that straight. I'm going to correct that shit every time. If you don't like it, get the fuck off my channel and go to somebody else's channel. Okay? So, all right. Now, dark-skinned indigenous people were subjected to people coming in and being bullies and colonizing and shit, right? And they survived that shit. Our ancestors survived that shit. They fought back. Some did subdue, but a lot of them were warrioress like, and they fought back, right? They endured a lot. They survived a lot of brutality, but they still held on to their culture, their spirituality and culture, whether they had to mask it or put it on the under and just have the colonizer shit on the forefront, but have that real shit, that real powerful shit in the background, right? In their private ceremonies and festivals, right? Our ancestors, they had song, dance, all of that shit. All right. Now, some people, the colonizers and their people, they tried to do a mockery of our ancestors' ways, traditions, culture, and spirituality, right? They tried to get in on the shit, right? So this is an illustration published in the journal Des Voyages, 1891. It captures revelers at Carnival in the port of Spain, Trinidad. All right. So the Spanish and the French, they did a lot of colonization and mixing, intermingling. All right. Because if you like me, I got a lot of that shit in my genealogy, in my bloodline, because I did the fucking research, the footwork. Okay? So, yes, they intermingled and mixed the bloodlines. Our ancestors call it the time of the blendings, right? So they did get in on the celebrations, right? Historians believe that Carnival started in the late 18th century in Trinidad and Tobago. All right. My first love, his family is from Trinidad and Tobago. So I do still have a silent respect for Trinidad and Tobago. One day I will experience Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. I will. All right. So you did have some suppressed prisoners of war. They say enslaved peoples, all right? They were banned from participating in masquerades and pre-Lenten celebrations, right? It was our shit. It's like, how colonizers gonna come in and see what we about, what our ancestors about, and see, oh, these people got rich culture, and we love their hair, their regalia, their culture, their spirituality. We love it so much we want to take over the shit and blend in with the shit and do a mockery of the shit. This is what the colonizers did, right? But this is focusing on the pre-Lenten, before Catholicism just like took a hold. Because today, Catholicism really takes a hold on Ash Wednesday, the day after MardiGras, the day after Fat Tuesday, right? So, all right, it says masquerades and the pre-Lenten celebrations of French plantation owners created their defiant rituals. Yeah, they say they were defiant because our people were resilient and warriors like that. They held on to their traditions, their ceremonies, their culture, their festivals, their heritage, their roots. All right. So the colonizers called it being defiant and shit, right? And they had on their regalia. They say costumes and masks, but it was regalia to our ancestors, right? And they try to say, oh, it's satirical reenactments of the opulent balls that they could not attend. All right, so we was doing that shit before the colonizers, and then they tried to usurp the shit and say, oh no, y'all can't come, this ain't for y'all. Our ancestors originated this shit. Our ancestors are the OGs, the quadruple, I don't even know what we can give them. I won't even say quadruple. I will say the millionth OGs of the shit, right? The trillionth OGs of the shit. Our ancestors, right? We started this shit. Our ancestors did, right? All right. Coded language. Yes, we had our Ebonics. We had the mixture of the languages. That's where you get the Creole languages. All right. The mixtures of the languages. All right. Coded language to communicate and drumming with birth calypso music. So you have calypso music, you have zydeco music, you have a lot of different genres of music. All right. And all throughout the Caribbean, the diaspora, it is some rich, just awesome music. From Brazil to Cuba to Haiti, Hispaniola, Saint Domingue, Louisiana, the original Louisiana, the whole middle of the fucking map. All right. So we have, it says, bodies deliberately covered in black mud and paint celebrated the skin tone. These motherfuckers was mocking our ancestors because they were so pale and hollow, They didn't have no culture. They had to steal our shit. They had to steal our ancestor shit, right? They were so hollow, right? So they tried to mock us and put on mud and dress like us, that, the blackface type bullshit, right? Trying to mock us. But they secretly and outwardly wanted to be us. They wanted to be our ancestors. Because the colonizers were so devoid of culture. So devoid of culture. All right. They were the culture vultures for real, right? All right. So it says they celebrated our ancestors' various skin tones and then tried to punish our ancestors for our rich, beautiful skin tones, earth tones. All right. Today, celebrations like Jovert or Joviert reenact this symbolic gesture as people with skin that gleams in black oil and hands that hold broken chains fill the streets in revelry and remembrance from the dusk till the dawn. Because during Carnival, MardiGras, you party from dusk till dawn. It's a time of celebration. Remember, it is after the sugarcane harvest, because from the sugarcane harvest you get that fire ass rum, you get a lot of libations, liquor, you get all that, you get molasses, you get sugar, you get all this beautiful sweetness, richness, right? And our ancestors celebrated that, right? All right, here. Nearly 300 years later, Carnival draws it really draws millions of people. They trying to diminish it lightweight. It draws millions of people around the world to the islands, with the height of celebrations culminating around Ash Wednesday. That's that Catholicism shit that creeped in. That bullshit, right? All right. So this person that wrote this says they've been fortunate to have experienced nearly every Caribbean carnival, which is my goal, because I done been to the NOLA, baby. New Orleans Mardi Gras, it ain't no Mardi Gras carnival like New Orleans Mardi Gras carnival, period. All right. But I have yet to experience the Trinidadian one, the diasporic one, and the Mobile, Alabama one, right? Okay. So it's saying that this person did experience nearly every carnival in the Caribbean. And each time this person left, they feel a tabanca, a Trinidadian word used to express a longing for what once was. Like, it was so good to them. Just like Carnival Mardi Gras season is so good. You just bask in it. Like, we just had so much fun that was just so filled with cultural richness, spiritual richness, right? Because our ancestors are the ones with the souls, the ones with the spirits, right? So, the energy of Carnival is undeniably captivating, evident by the popular recaps of social media, blah, blah, blah. As the tradition continues to grow in popularity, because places are embracing MardiGras, because we didn't embrace all these other Abrahamic religion holidays and shit, and even their bastardized holidays and shit, their pagan holidays. We didn't embrace all that shit. Now as a whole, people are embracing Carnival MardiGras season, right? So it's saying that the hope is its roots of prisoners of war, indentured servants, and some enslaved peoples who made it fucking possible. Our ancestors made this shit possible. Put some respect on our ancestors' names, right? All right, from various tribes throughout the world, okay? And our ancestors, what they endured and what they brought to the fucking table. They are the fucking table. It will not be forgotten. It's so much more than glittering regalia, they say costumes, and nonstop partying. Carnival is a testimony of resilience and the ability to find joy through most difficult times. Okay, it's saying delve into the history of Carnival celebrations on 6 Caribbean islands. We got to do a trip, y'all. We got to do a trip to these islands and celebrate and experience Carnival MardiGras in a whole nother way. Because once you go to New Orleans and experience MardiGras and Fête Gede and all of the Day of the Dead celebrations and ancestral celebrations, you're going to be forever changed by that shit. You are. And then to go to the Caribbean, that is on my bucket list. Who is with me? We going to get that together. We going to get that together. Okay? So, they have pictures. This is in Fort-de-France, band members performing during the Carnival parade on the French Caribbean island of Martinique. The island's carnival celebration culminates on Ash Wednesday, when Vival, a giant papier-mâché figure symbol, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then they talk about Carnival in Martinique. So we covered a little bit of Trinidad and Tobago. They feel that that is the oldest, most ancient carnival, right? So in Martinique's rich carnival history originated in the town of Saint-Pierre in the 17th and 18th centuries. While wealthy island colonists attended lavish parties, the prisoners of war, indentured servants, Negro Indians, indigenous people of the world, the islands in this aspect, use satire and their traditions of music, dance, and regalia as a means for creative freedom and celebration. Today, Martinique's Carnival kicks off with the daytime parades, MardiGras Fat Sunday. So we got a Fat Tuesday, we got a Fat Sunday. And the sightings of the Jaguarxi, people who smear their bodies in sugar cane syrup and charcoal as a remembrance to the legendary fugitive prisoners of war, those Negro Indians all over the world, especially in the diaspora, all right, from the region. They even, like I said, the balance shit. Hey, Mardi Gras Carnival season is about celebratory. And just like we go hard and fast and do ceremony and ritual for purification, we go hard and party. So you got both on both scales. You got the light and the dark. And you got the crossroads where you meet at the middle, right? Okay. So they had burlesque parties on Mondays, MardiGras, and red devil dress theme on Tuesdays. MardiGras bring thousands to the street. So it's a lot of that Catholicism shit brought in there. How they celebrating our shit, but they try to demonize it at the same time, which is fucked up, right? It's like you demonizing some shit that you love because it ain't your culture. You borrowing from it. Or your ancestors loved it so much they intermingled and mixed and had babies and had legacies of lineages of people so that they can truly partake because it's their birthright, because they had Negro Indian heritage, right? All right, so for a great taste of the energy of Martinique's nightlife during this time of year, join a party of ethnic carnival on MardiGras. MardiGras is the Monday before Fat Tuesday, MardiGras, right? Don't miss this quick to sell out stylish soiree of event planners, a beautiful life mood. Both offer great opportunities to support local businesses and seek to keep the tradition of regalia or costume parties alive. On Ash Wednesday, the final day of Carnival, parade goers watch the ceremonial burning of King Vaval, an effigy that symbolizes the social issues of the time. So they also deal with the social issues of the time, like the racial discrimination, even though they was discriminating, but they wanted to be us. They wanted to be like us. They was putting on mud and charcoal and shit. They was trying to be us. But then they was trying to play it like they was mocking us, but they truly wanted to be the people that had the soul, the spirit, the true sacred fire that burns eternal. Our shit don't go out. You can try to dim that shit, but our shit don't go out, right? All right, so here is, oh, I don't want to see that. All right, women in traditional clothing, regalia, parade through the streets to celebrate Carnival in Martinique. A group of majorettes marched in the 1950 Carnival parade in Fort de France, Martinique. And then they have trips, all right, travel tips for Carnival in Martinique and where to stay, blah, 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 right? So in Fort de France, you have this. And then you got Junkanoo in the Bahamas. So we covering the diaspora first, right? Because this is close to the original Carnival MardiGras celebrations. And it's indigenous in nature. These people that they're talking about in these islands, these are island Indians, basically. Indigenous people from the islands. And they were all shades of brown, from the darkest to the lightest, right? Today, okay, it says Junkanoo, a uniquely Bahamian celebration, is held on Boxing Day or New Year's Day, originating in the 16th century. This celebration embraces Negro Indian traditions. When they say African, they try to put all indigenous people on 7 continents. They try to put them in that little box of Africa. That is not correct. Okay, so we got to dispel the bullshit. All right. Celebrating culture during the holidays. You got music-filled parades and colorful spectacle of handcrafted. Our people are so creative. We are the battery. We are the source. Our ancestors are the source, the battery. Everybody tries to steal energy from the battery, the true original battery, the true energy source. Our melanin-rich ancestors. All right. They have handcrafted regalia costumes called Junkanoo suits that glitter along Nassau's downtown streets. Participants spend months preparing kaleidoscopic floats and impeccably detailed regalia costumes worn with pride down streets for millions of onlookers. Children also involved in the annual tradition. It is impossible not to be impressed by the level of detail in both choreography and of movement. Look at that. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Just bask on that image. Because her regalia is bad. It's cold. In the Bahamas, performers take part in the traditional Bahamian Junkanoo celebration in Nassau's Parliament Square. So this is all in the diaspora, the diaspora. All right. They call them West Indians. All right. And over here in the Americas, all right, you have the American Indigenous population. All right. These are our cousins, right? Our relations. All right. So they give travel tips for Junkanoo in the Bahamas and places where you can go, the museum, etc. So you have these people in regalia right here. All right, Bahamian performers march down Nassau's Bay Street in elaborate crepe paper costumes and bang on cowbells as they celebrate Junkanoo, a traditional festival celebrated on Boxing Day and New Year's Day in the Bahamas. Check their regalia. Creative. We will create some out of fucking nothing. We have created things with feathers and silk and leather and suede and all kind of materials. And they created this, what they say, out of crepe paper. Baby, we are the creative mind of the source. We are the creative mind of the source. Then you have Carnival in Guadalupe. Because remember, the Spanish and the French. So you have the indigenous people, the dark-skinned indigenous people, meaning melanin-rich indigenous people. And then you have the Spanish and the French. You also have the Italian people, the Romans and the Greeks, because they were mentioned also. Because they tried to put their stamp on some shit later in 1094 and 1296. I have to go back, but we just read that shit. Y'all get where I'm coming from. So, Carnival in Guadalupe. From the first Sunday in January to Ash Wednesday, the islands of Guadalupe come alive with one of the world's most cultural rich carnival celebrations in the Caribbean. Unlike the big parties of Trinidad and Barbados that have become more mainstream, Guadalupe's carnival remains centered on the people of the island, the indigenous tribes of the island, and their pride in their culture and tradition, because that's what it's about. It's about our ancestors' culture and tradition, our spirituality and culture, right? From the sounds of the goatskin stretched drums echoing through the streets to stilt figures called Moko Zombis. Like, that reminds me of zombies, but Zobis. Moko Zobis. That tower above crowds. You see them like during MardiGras Carnival season and Fête Gede, the Day of the Dead, the French Creole version, the Haitian Creole version, and then you have the Mexican version of Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, the Feast of the Dead, the Feast of the Ancestors, right? You have those people. I celebrate this shit. I'm about that life, right? So when I go to the celebrations, they be having the people on the stilts too. All right. So it says that all right. They have these people that tower above the crowds. It is impossible to leave this carnival without feeling its electric authenticity because our ancestors were the trillionth OGs of this shit. Get it fucking right. Put some respect on our ancestors' names, culture, spirituality, all that shit, right? Dressed up revelers run to join the Carnival parade in Basse Terre, Guadalupe. Look at these melanin rich people. All shades, from the darkest to the lightest. We got all shades of brown, baby. They give our people the misnomer black, but nobody is actually the color black. Just so you know that. All right. Let's put that out there. And then they gave travel tips about Carnival in Guadalupe. And then you have Mass Dominic in the Dominica. Of course, we got Haiti. Hispaniola consists of, you have the main, we're going to put the main ones on the show, on the showcase. We got Haiti, Haiti, Saint Domingue, the more French influenced side, the French Creole side, and then you have the other side of the same fucking place, the Dominican Republic, more Spanish influenced, right? All right, the lush islands of Dominica draws revelers to its streets, flanked by a teeming rainforest that provide the ultimate paradisical setting, also known as Mas Dominic. Carnival here embraces similar traditions of its neighboring islands, including Joviert pageants, street parades with calypso music, and a kiddie carnival. So they have some for the children too. Because I don't really like to say kids, but they got some for the children, for the youth. People on stilts march in Dominica's Carnival parade. Travel tips for Mas Dominic in Dominica, right? So they give you tips if you're going to travel there. And then you have the crop over in Barbados. Well, the culmination of events for many carnivals occur around Lent. Barbados celebration, crop over, takes center stage every summer. In the 17th century, the island was one of the world's largest sugar cane producers, because we did a whole segment about Haiti, Haiti, Saint Domingue, and its neighbor, the Dominican Republic, and the whole state of Louisiana, the sugarcane plantations. Y'all can view that installment about the sugarcane plantations, right? So when you sipping on some rum and you sipping on those libations and pour libations to your ancestors, Remember, show respect to the ancestors because they endured a lot of shit with producing sugar cane products, rum, sugar, molasses, etc. While the culmination of events for many carnivals occurs around Lent, Barbados celebration crop over takes center stage every summer. In the 17th century, the island was one of the world's largest sugarcane producers. When the harvest season ended, typically in the summer, the prisoners of war, the indentured servants, all right, who sustained the blooming economy, they celebrated. After sugarcane harvest season, they like, bitch, we about to fucking celebrate because we done work hard producing all this shit for us and the colonizers. Bitch, we about to fucking celebrate. All right. When the harvest season ended, typically in the summer, okay, they celebrated. Hence the name crop over. The celebration of Barbados' resilience and critical influence in the Caribbean's agricultural economy makes this time of year a source of pride for many Bajans. All right, a series of events into Siri turnoff.
Okay, I found this on the web for
Turn
ESIP
off
events
Siri.
culminating
I
to
don't
Siri
want
turn
to
off.
fucking talk
Check it
to
out.
you. I hate when she come on. Bitch, I didn't call you. Excuse me, y'all. All right. So this is the crop over season in Barbados, right? We still talking about the diaspora, where Carnival is celebrated, right? So we have crop over, the celebration of Barbados' resilience and critical influence in the Caribbean's agricultural economy makes this time of the year a source of pride for many Bajans. A series of events culminates in
Okay,
no.
I found this on the web for
Every
a series
time I
of
say something that's near her fucking name, the bitch shows up. Excuse me, y'all. All right, so this is events that culminate into Carnival Monday, like MardiGras, which is the Monday before Fat Tuesday. You nearing the end. We celebrate in like the first week, from the first week basically in January up until Fat fucking Tuesday, which is MardiGras. The night before is MardiGras, right? So, all right. It's called the Grand Cardumen. All right, where a sea of feathers and bacchanalia, Bacchus and shit, they little pagan shit, the colonizers' little pagan shit intertwines into our ancestor shit. Because they had the bacchanalia, all this shit. You just left the Saturnalia shit. Now they own the Bacchus shit, right? So beautiful. Musicians play in the streets during the Crop Over Festival in Bridgetown, Barbados. All right. Beautiful, rich culture. All right. These are the origins of Carnival and MardiGras. The diaspora, yes, is first. Then you have the Mobile, Alabamas, and the whole state of Louisiana, which is the whole middle of the fucking map of the United States. All right. Travel tips of the crop over in Barbados. Then they touch on Carnival in Trinidad again. Often called the greatest show on earth, Trinidad's Carnival is the blueprint for many first time or repeat bacchanalias. These people, they usurped and added Bacchus in that shit. All right. The island is also considered the birthplace of Carnival. Where's the fucking birthplace of Carnival? It's in fucking Trinidad. We gon' take a little second for that shit, right? That little heart, that's the Trinidad and Tobago flag. All right. The Caribbean, the diaspora, all right, they consider that the oldest place where the people celebrate Carnival. It's a celebration of our dark-skinned indigenous ancestors' culture, spirituality, traditions, our music, our food, our spirituality, or just everything. It's respect and commemoration of the shit. So this is why I said you can tell me where MardiGras and Carnival originated, huh? True or false? Can you tell me? Right? So the Caribbean, the diaspora, I like to say diaspora. Some people say diaspora. I say diaspora. But anyway, so this is why I have them first with the fucking heart, because it's the core of the shit, right? We got Louisiana, the whole fucking state, the original Louisiana, right? The whole middle of the United States map, that was the original Louisiana. All right. Yes. Much respect because I fucking love it. I fucking love it. All right. Then you have Mobile, Alabama. All right. It's not publicized like New Orleans, but it's the fucking shit there too. I haven't been there yet, but I know the history, her story, the culture, the tradition. All right. So, yes, I celebrate because that's me a couple of years ago when I kind of was in my prime. I was representing, I had a Carnival MardiGras birthday celebration, and it was on point, baby. Okay, so let's go back. We ain't gonna get sidetracked. All right. Carnival in Trinidad, often called the greatest show on earth, Trinidad's Carnival is the blueprint for many first time or repeat, blah, blah, blah. We're not even going to give the Bacchus people they shit, right? The island is also considered the birthplace of Carnival. Let's highlight this shit. Where's the birthplace of Carnival? Trinidad. All right. It was created by Negro Indians, the dark-skinned indigenous people of the island. They later tried to put that misnomer African on there, but they were dark-skinned indigenous people. They did not even utter the word African. That shit came later. Just so y'all know. Right? Okay, they created, it said, this was the birthplace of Carnival, created by the prisoners of war, because they were the true original indigenous dark-skinned people that was on the island. And the colonizers came and oppressed them. And so they burnt sugar cane called camboulet. They burnt sugar cane as an act of rebellion against plantation slavery. We did this shit. We covered this shit on the sugarcane plantations in Haiti, the Saint Domingue, whole Hispaniola. You got on one side Haiti and one side the Dominican Republic. Before the French and the Spanish came and fucked up shit, it was one fucking island. And the indigenous people on that whole island, they had some kind of community, right? They didn't have that separation. Of course, all people don't get along all the fucking time, right? But they had a sense of community. They knew about the various tribes on that whole place, on that whole island, right? The Haiti side, the IET side, and the Dominican Republic side, right? So this is saying that also, not only did they have the sugarcane crops in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Saint Domingue, they had it in Louisiana, because we covered that. Check out the installments of Fire Fridays. We covered the sugarcane plantations. And they also had sugarcane plantations, sugarcane crops in Trinidad, in the diaspora, right? So it says, when they was tired of being fucking prisoners of war, they burnt the sugarcane plantations. They did it in Haiti, IET. That's where you have the Haitian Revolution. They did it. They burnt the shit in Louisiana because Napoleon and all his little cronies and shit, they tried to move from IET because they wasn't so successful. They was kind of successful for a minute. They had spurts of being successful, but then the people rose the fuck up. The darkest indigenous people that they misnomer, the Maroons, got in their ass and riled up the people to be like, look, we got to get rid of these motherfuckers. We not enduring this prisoners of war slavery shit, servitude shit no more. This our shit. We getting them the fuck up out of here. So from the Haitian Revolution, then Napoleon, his cronies tried to go to the middle of the U.S. map to the whole state of Louisiana, because it was the whole middle of the fucking U.S. map, the original Louisiana. Now today they reduce it to just where Louisiana is today. No, it was the whole middle of the motherfucking map, right? So they tried to, move from one place because they got ran the fuck up out of IET, Haiti. Shout out to my Haitians out there. Say all that shit. Respect, right? So this was about the sugar cane plantations, the sugar cane crops, right? And when the season was over, after you had the harvest and the season was over, it's time to fucking celebrate. We got a harvest. Our indigenous ancestors everywhere had harvest time celebrations. We had that shit from a long time before the fucking colonizers. We celebrated the seasons of nature, the seasons here on earth. You have spring, that's birth, life, summer, and then you have the elder years, which is autumn, fall, and then winter is death. And then you have spring to represent rebirth, resurrection. All right? Cycles of life. Our ancestors understood that spiritually and on an earthly plane level, right? So it says that they burnt the fucking sugar cane and it was called Camboulet as an act of rebellion against plantation slavery. After slavery was abolished in 1838, the British government tried to prohibit Camboulet alongside other sacred practices like drumming, masquerading, and steel pan music. Like, you can't ban our shit. You can't abolish our shit. Our ancestors still was doing that shit. Our ancestors was still celebrating their culture and spiritual practices, our ceremonies, our festivals, our rituals. Our ancestors were still doing that despite all the fucking oppression, right? So they tried to ban the practices of drumming, masquerading, and steel pan music. The formerly prisoners of war Trinidadians, they fought the fuck back in a series of riots, just like you have the Haitian Revolution. Those indigenous people on that island, they rebelled. You have the Haitian Revolution. You also have the Trinidadian Revolution, where they fought the fuck back in a series of riots, a stance that would ensure Carnival would continue today. Our ancestors fought to celebrate our culture, heritage, ceremonial practices, our spirituality and culture. They fought for that shit. So while you celebrating and having fun today, put some respect on our ancestors' name, because they endured a lot of shit. A lot. They endured a lot of shit, right? So they did this to ensure that we will still be celebrating today. All right, this is a scene of them with drums and all of this shit taken in March of 1946. This photo captures men playing steel drums during a street carnival in Port of Spain in Trinidad. Okay. All right, give me a moment. I got to take a quick break. How y'all doing in the chat? We're going to continue to go deep into our ancestors' roots. I'll be right back. Oh, I need to put on some music for y'all. Let me put on some music for y'all. Well, we take this quick intermission, and we're gonna get back into Carnival and MardiGras, her story, history. All right. Let me do this. Be right back. All right, I'm back. I didn't keep y'all long. All right, we're back from our intermission. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace, George. I've been going over the whole Carnival MardiGras season, the history, her story, all that shit. It originated in Trinidad and Tobago in the diaspora. Those dark-skinned indigenous people held on to our ancestors' culture and spirituality, heritage, all that goodness. So we've been going over that. So you can do the playback later and check it out. All right. So let's go back to the little article. All right. So this is in Trinidad, right? And I did go over this. It says Carnival in Trinidad. It says the island is also considered the birthplace of Carnival, created by the prisoners of war, the Negro Indians, that they mistakenly call Africans, because our ancestors was here way before they started saying African or Africa. That's a later word. It's not an original word. Our ancestors had names in their tribal tongues, in their indigenous tribal tongues, in the diaspora all over the world, on all 7 continents where dark-skinned indigenous people originate. All right. So, Carnival in Trinidad. All right. Birthplace of Carnival. All right. So, this is what we're going over. All right. Much of the Trinidadian culture perfectly complements the energy of Carnival, including words that refer to partying and socializing, like lemon, fitting, getting on bad. Trinidad's Carnival requires pacing, as celebrations are offered around the clock, and sleep can quickly become a distant memory. Because we party and celebrate our ancestors' culture, because this was like commemorated after they start burning the sugarcane plantations. And I know you saw the previous installment that I did about the sugarcane plantations. Not only our ancestors had them in Haiti, IET, in the Dominican Republic, Hispaniola, Saint Domingue, and then the whole state of Louisiana, the original state of Louisiana, which is the whole middle of the United States map, right? Louisiana, they had sugarcane plantations. Our people rebelled there. We celebrating Carnival and MardiGras there too. So Trinidad, they label this as the birthplace of Carnival. All right. And when they burnt the sugar cane, it was called Camboulet. And it makes me think about creme brulee. Ain't it made with some sugar, some molasses? Shit that's made from sugar cane crops. Okay. All right. So Carnival Monday, we talked about Monday. So we celebrate from like the first week of January up until Mardi Gras. All right. The day before Mardi Gras is Lundi Gras, that Monday before Fat Tuesday, right? Carnival Monday and Tuesday take over the streets of Port of Spain, while other fetes commence on hillsides, beaches, and boats. Fetes, like Fete Gede, is a festival. All right. Stick fighting happens. The panoramic steel pan competition and chipping, dancing down the road during Juviert, all right, are integral parts of the experience too. Then there's the soundtrack for it all, soca. This mashup of East Indian and West Indigenous peoples, diasporic peoples, because it's all kind of melanin shades from the darkest brown to the lightest brown from the diaspora, that they misnomer and just group it all together under this fake misnomer called African. Just so y'all know. These were indigenous peoples before the word Africa was even in fucking existence, okay? So it's like a gumbo pot, that Creole gumbo pot. You got the Creole and Creoles. You got the French Creole, the French mixed with the dark-skinned indigenous people, and then you have the Spanish mixed with the dark-skinned indigenous people. You have their influences heavy, right? So it ignites every moving body during Carnival. It is easy to get overwhelmed by the number of events listed, blah, blah, blah. So they have all these events and extravaganzas, festivals, etc. And they wearing they shit. They got their feathers. They got their regalia on. I love it. So over in the Caribbean, their regalia looks more like this. So you have Miss Universe 1998, Wendy Fitzwilliam performed with a band for a shimmer and lace act as a part of the Trinidad Carnival at the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain, Trinidad. This was in 2018. She represented her shit. Yep, she got that purple on, that royalty color. And then they gave travel tips for Carnival in Trinidad, right? I love how they did cover this. Shout out to them for covering this, right? So, in essence, the answer to this question right here, this represents the Trinidad and Tobago flag. Trinidad and Tobago flag. The diaspora is the home of Carnival. That's me representing. So that's why I posed the question. Do you know? Can you tell me? You can tell me where MardiGras and Carnival originated. Was it Trinidad and Tobago? Was it Louisiana, the whole middle of the U.S. map? Louisiana, the original Louisiana, or Mobile, Alabama? Right there. All right. And that was in like 1703, I think. So this is why I posed the comment, the question, where did it originate? But at the essence, it originated with our melanated indigenous people across the world, the diaspora to the Americas, the diaspora to the Americas. That's where we celebrate Carnival, MardiGras. Okay? So we read that article, which tells you the birthplace of Carnival, Trinidad. All right? So this article from the Smithsonian Magazine, a brief history of how Carnival is celebrated around the world. And we did talk about Venice, Italy, right? Because they tried to say they shit started in like 1094, 1296. They got their little formal little stamp, right? But our indigenous people were here before 1094. Okay. And so they say, here's how Carnival is celebrated around the world. Venice, Rio de Janeiro, Trinidad and Tobago, New Orleans, and Quebec City mark the pre-Lenten season. This was before Catholicism started encroaching up on our shit and intermingling and mocking our shit. and then try to say our ancestors can't be a part of these elaborate ceremonies. Bitch, our ancestors started this shit. They the fucking trillion OGs of the shit. All right. So we have right here the 18th century Venice Carnival mask created a temporary feeling of equality between the ruling class and the lower classes. So they partied together. All right. So she wrote this. Shout out to her. All right, so Carnival has always been a festival of mysteries, marked by a sense of finality. It celebrates the end of one season and the beginning of another. So it celebrates the seasons of nature, Mother Nature. All right, we have spring, which is birth, summer, which is life, right? Autumn, which is like the elder years, right? The mature elder years. And then winter is death. And then spring comes back around. It's rebirth, resurrection. So we have it understood on a spiritual, mental, physical type shit, right? So providing the release before a period of grief and solemnity, at least in the Christian tradition. So we know that the Catholicism shit came later, right? We talked about that, right? All right, so the celebration's name most likely derived from the medieval Latin phrases carnem lavare, carne lavarium, which refer to the removal of meat. So she's talking about the Ash Wednesday aspect, which is like Catholicism. So we delved with the pre-Lent. And then when them colonizers came and our ancestors were on those sugar cane plantations, they started burning that shit up. Like after the harvest, we burning that shit up. Also burning it up. You burn it up when you do planting and you share crop and things of that nature. You can burn the fields and start anew. So the soil will be ripe, etc. for the new crops to come, right? So, all right. So she's talking about how Christianity influenced it. It its origins may actually predate that religion. Some sources trace Carnival back to ancient Rome, Saturnalia, and we talked about this shit. This is the colonizer shit, the Saturnalia festivals with Bacchus and Dionysus and all them people, right? Which is a bastardized version of our ancestors' spirituality and culture. All right. We had various tribes and we had various tribal languages before the colonizers, right? We had many words for the source of all things, the creatress, creator, great mystery, great spirit. We had many names to describe the source before the colonizers. They came in with a Christianity, their Judeo-Christianity, their Abrahamic religions, and they came in with their pagan shit. All right. They also have they look at Saturn, the father of Jupiter, and all this shit. And then they talk about ancient Kemet, Egypt, blah, blah, blah. Calling Carnival a tradition that exclusively Western or Christian roots is likely too limiting. Like, you can't put Carnival, MardiGras in a fucking box. You fucking can't. You fucking can't, right? So it says more than 50 countries around the world, the whole fucking country, on every 7 continents. The original peoples are melanated indigenous people, tribal nations. They had their own languages, their own spirituality and culture, festivals, rituals, all that shit, cultural heritage. They had all that shit before the colonizers, right? So it also includes Brazil and Switzerland. Yes, we talked about Trinidad and Tobago in the U.S., mainly Mobile, Alabama, and Louisiana, the whole original state of Louisiana, the whole middle of the U.S. map. New Orleans is like the capital of the shit. I fucking love it there. All right, so this is the fight between Carnival and Lent. Interesting, right? So they painted this. Okay, this was 1559, right? Because the whole Abrahamic religion shit comes in the day after Carnival, MardiGras. The day after Fat Tuesday is Ash Wednesday, where you have the Lent Catholicism element, right? And so she's talking about Carnival during the medieval era. During the Middle Ages, the church, the Catholicism people, blah, 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 they combined pagan and Christian strains of Carnival. Like I said, they loved our ancestors' culture so much. These people, they was culture vultures on another fucking level. Right? They loved our ancestors' shit so much that they added their own little shit, their own little remix to shit, right? It says, beginning in the mid 12th century, the reigning pope, blah, 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 traveled on horseback to Monte Testaccio, an incline of Rome built mainly out of discarded amphorae fragments to preside over Ludus Carnavalri, a celebration that pitted noble families against each other in duels, right? Jousting, bullfights, and other competitions. So this is what they was fucking doing, right? This is what the colonizer people was doing in a medieval era. Well, our indigenous people, our ancestors was the trillionth OGs of the shit. We had spirituality, culture. We had all that shit just pristine, just awesome, right? And then we had these people that want to come in and culture vulture and make mockeries and then want to blend in with our ancestors, to, tap in, right? So they started having their own little celebrations, pitting they little funky ass noble families against each other in duels, jousting, bullfights, and other competitions. In one game, it carts a lot of live pigs were thrown from the top of the hill, leaving the townspeople below clamoring to catch the meat. They was doing it like that. Shortly after this pope assumed leadership of their little Catholic Church in 1464, he created the Renaissance Carnival, which harkened back to Rome's ancient traditions. Over 8 days during carnival season, this pope organized races between members of the same animal species, like buffaloes and donkeys, as well as assorted groups of people, such as children and the elderly. The Via Lata became the site of these games, eventually inspiring the street's current name, Via del Corso, which stems from the Italian word for race. A 19th century depiction of the Festa dei Moccaletti. On the final night of their little carnival season, Shrove Tuesday, locals, stormed the Via del Corso wearing masks and holding candles as part of a procession called Festa dei Moccaletti. The Raucous event was an excuse to truly let loose, often in a violent way. See, they was on some violent shit. They was on some beast some beast type shit, right? So our ancestors were the ones with the soul, the spirit, the essence. And then they was on some violent bullshit, right? According to the Roman Tourism Department's website, blah blah blah, they wanted this little saying, death to anyone who is not carrying a candle. So our ancestors had fire. So yes, we did utilize candles later, but we had fire from the trees, right? We used parts of the tree to make fire, ceremonial fires, right? Sacred fires. All right. And it says they also attempted to snuff out others' lights while maintaining their own. So this got a whole symbolic shit right here. Okay, so with fire, you heard the saying, don't let nobody put your sacred fire out. Even when our indigenous ancestors have the new fire, and then they have the fire that keeps flowing, all right, and then different ceremonies, they relight new fires, put out old ones, all right, but they do it in a respectful way. Our ancestors did it in a respectful way. These motherfuckers, these colonizers, was doing it like trying to put out other people's flames. They want to dim the lights of the other people, the original people. They want to dim the lights. And then they was even doing shit amongst each other, right? They wanted to snuff out other people's lights while maintaining their own, which is like a precursor to their fucking nature, right? It's a precursor to their fucked up nature, right? So Rome is no longer the center of Carnival celebrations, in which they was just trying to culture vulture our ancestor shit. But the festival has taken on additional layers. Yes, it has, even to this day. It has taken on additional layers, right? Meanings over the world. Individual countries have tweaked the holiday to fit their customs and uses, sometimes socially, sometimes politically, and sometimes purely for enjoyment. As the pre-Lenten seasons draw to a close, learn about 5 different carnival traditions, excuse me, from around the globe that represent the festival's historical bread. Venice Carnival. We kind of briefly talked about this. Venice supplanted Rome as the main site of Italian carnival festivals by the 18th century. Like many later carnival celebrations, Venice affairs were marked by the widespread use of masks, which created a temporary feeling of equality. They put on these masks. Everybody was equal during this time. All right. Between the ruling class and the lower classes. The 6-week festival served as a placebo against the bad moods and tensions that were often generated within the poorer classes towards the political system, according to Venice's official tour guide. All right. So during this time, they just doing make believe, like we all equal. A placebo is like something that's fake, basically. All right. It was Giacomo Casanova, an adventurer and author born in Venice in 1725, who perhaps brought the most attention to the city celebration. His autobiography, History of My Life, chronicled not only his sexual conquests, but also the character of his home state, where one's image carried social currency. All right, you get the masquerade elements, right? Mass revelers participating in Venice Carnival in 2010, right? Casanova's writings suggest that significant emphasis was placed solely on appearance and that being seen as opposed to exchanging ideas was often the primary objective of appearing in public, wrote scholar blah blah blah. All right. Though dwindling in economic and political power, Venice was still a thriving city during his lifetime. Known throughout Europe for its carnival associated with gaiety and pleasure, it was a city with numerous public spaces where revelers could see and be seen. The mass traditions of carnival were a way of turning this emphasis on public image on its head. Participants were seen but not seen. Effectively hiding in literal broad daylight. One of the most popular tradition costumes was a bota, which consisted of a full mask, a cape that covered the head and shoulders, and a tricorn or cocked hat. The mask also concealed the mouth in such a way that it changed the speaker's voice. Masking. People that put on fucking masks. There's like a flip side to the shit. You can do it in celebration, or it's a spiritually symbolic thing of somebody that's masking who the fuck they truly are. If they a fucking beast and they masking it, they still a beast underneath. But anyway, another mask, the French Moretta, was beloved by the Venetian women. All right. The Venetian women loved this mask, right? Covered in dark velvet, it was kept in a place by a small button held between the teeth, leaving the wearer unable to speak, right? So in 1797, the Republic of Venice came under Austrian rule as part an agreement between Napoleon Bonaparte, this and Habsburg dynasty. And we talked about Napoleon and his shenanigans when he tried to oppress Hispaniola, Saint Domingue, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. But the Spanish mainly was ruling over there on the Dominican Republic side, and then the French was trying to reign more on the Haitian side. But the Haitians prevailed. The dark-skinned indigenous people, the misnomer, the maroons, they prevailed, right? The Haitian Revolution did fucking happen, right? And so Bonaparte and his little cronies, they tried to move to Louisiana and do the illegal Louisiana purchase and shit. Which Louisiana in its original state was the whole middle of the U.S. map. All right. So it says Bonaparte and his Habsburg dynasty. The Austrians banned both carnival and mask wearing. So they went through this little shit, right? They tried to ban the shit. All right. And it only survived thanks to artists on the Venetian islands of Burano and Murano. Almost 150 years later, Benito Mussolini's fascist regime upheld the prohibition during the ensuring that Venice could not celebrate Carnival. So these people, the colonizers, they went through their little bullshit because they wanted to partake so much in our ancestors' spirituality and culture, in traditions and ceremonies and festivals. Right, to where they start fighting amongst each other and try to ban the shit amongst each other, right? But a resurgence in the 1970s led to the celebrations that continue today. All right. The Moretta mask seen on the woman standing on the left was kept in place by a button held between the wearer's teeth. Right here. All right. So, Rio Carnival. When Rio de Janeiro brought back its carnival in 2023 after 2 years of cancellations prompted by the pandemic. The event made headlines around the world, testifying to just how much of the phenomenon it is. Because Rio de Janeiro, that's a part of where? The Caribbean, the diaspora, Brazil, right? In that area, right? The ancestors already had roots in that shit, right? So, widely acclaimed as the world's biggest carnival, the 5-day celebration draws some 2 million revelers each day. Celebrants take to the streets and clubs known as samba schools parade through the city during performances. The festival's roots lie in the Portuguese colonization of Brazil. The Spanish that tried to get with the indigenous people in Brazil, the dark-skinned indigenous people of Brazil, right? And of course, the dark-skinned indigenous people, the Negro Indians, who became misnomers enslaved African people, brought to the colony by the Portuguese. But the Portuguese, they encountered the Negro Indian tribes of Brazil. Okay, so they made the celebration what it is today. This influence is evident in Rio Carnival's samba music, feathered costumes, feathered regalia, and dance styles. All right. Hey. Performers at the 2016 Rio Carnival. All right. That's beautiful. By the beginning of the 20th century, Carnival found a strategic place in the delineation of culture and Brazilian national identity. Like I said, they was dark-skinned indigenous people. They had their own names and their own tribal tongues before the Africa word was even invented. Just so y'all know. So, its ritual practices were bound up with the passionate features etched into the country and its people. Its sensual, tropical style and fondness for playful behavior and an irreverent joyousness. And then it's recapping. We already talked about Trinidad and Tobago. All right, Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. Much like Rio Carnival, Trinidad and Tobago's festival was initially brought over by European colonists. This is what they fucking say, right? But again, our trillion OG dark-skinned indigenous people already had their ceremonies, rituals, culture, heritage, traditions. We already had our regalia, feathers, blah, blah, blah. They fucking bit off of our shit, meaning they fucking copied it, mocked it, etc., and then tried to say, "Oh, y'all can't be a part of it." But bitch, you a culture vulture. You stole that shit from our people. Anyway, so I like how they do say this. They said African and indigenous populations. At least they kind of got the mixture right. And African in this aspect is just saying diasporic populations, because throughout the Caribbean, there are many dark-skinned indigenous tribes. They have different tribal names. They have their own language, their culture, their identity, heritage, tradition, etc., spirituality, culture. One of the hallmarks of Trinidad and Tobago's early carnival celebrations was Cannes Brûlée. All right. The ceremonial act of burning sugar cane. Again, burning that fucking sugar cane. It's a ritual. But it's also like, look here. Y'all not going to suppress us or oppress us. We going to continue to do our culture. We're going to continue to do our culture. So again, they had the burning of the sugar cane. Creme brulee. Remember, I did do a little similarity of creme brulee, but creme brulees. All right, the burning of the sugar. They did the burning of the sugar crops, the sugar cane crops in Haiti, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Hispaniola, Saint Domingue, Louisiana, and sugarcane plantations. They did a burning of those sugar canes, all right, crops. And here, okay, the diaspora, they did the same thing, right? All right, so the ritual served as a form of resistance against both the practice of slavery and more generally capitalism, writes this person. Okay, they're a scholar, blah, blah, blah. The celebration also involved traditional song and dance like stick fighting, but the practice of burning sugar cane became so controversial that the British Royal Commission attempted to outlaw it in 1881, sparking the Camboulay riots, in which we talked about that. The Camboulay riots, the burning of the sugar cane. Our ancestors worked hard. Our ancestors managed sugarcane crops before the colonizers. And then when the colonizers came and wanted to make it this fucked up business, then our ancestors doing hard labor, blood, sweat, and tears labor. And then when the harvest came and they got all the shit, they was like, we gonna burn some shit and we gonna celebrate. And then it is gonna ready the ground, the soil for new shit, for a new, right? All right. So, faced with new restrictions, the islands of the Creoles of color, the dark-skinned indigenous people residents, the indigenous tribes that were already there, who'd been emancipated from slavery in 1838, adapted their celebrations. All right, let's be clear. It was our ancestor shit in the beginning. We just took that shit back. We just took that shit back. Let's be clear. We just took that shit back. All right. Okay. All right. So and then we did our stick fighting, blah blah blah, and some people improvised with bamboo instruments and ladle steel pan drums. All right. A young girl dressed in an elaborate regalia while celebrating Carnival in Trinidad in 1977. They got some good pictures. She's beautiful. I love her regalia. All right. So, by banning cons brulees, the burning of the sugarcane crops, they were trying to silence the dark-skinned indigenous people, the Negro Indians of the islands. Maharaj tells the Smithsonian Magazine. But in that silencing, they fucking failed. They could not silence the dark-skinned indigenous people because our ancestors' ancient roots run deep. It's in the soil, in the earth, in the land, in the air. That spirit, mental, physical connection is there. It cannot be erased. Even though they tried to duplicate it and then corrupt it and tried to say, nah, y'all can't do this. They tried to do everything, but our ancestors held on to their spirituality and culture. All right. All right. So they have this textual evidence for Trinidad and Tobago's historic Carnival celebration comes from the records of colonizers. So the colonizers even recorded this, right? Talking about that it is important to place the island's festivals in the context of the Caribbean culture. Yeah. Excuse me. Instead of referencing or comparing Carnival to European culture, the Caribbean should be seen as a cultural center that stands on its fucking own because it's the diaspora is the original shit, right? And the Americas, right? Everywhere where it was dark skinned, melanated, indigenous people. Period. Fucking period, right? So so he's saying we can't trust the perspective of Westerners. They trying to compare Carnival to the only thing that they know, European culture. How could the perspective change if the Caribbean, the diaspora, was viewed as a place of cultural origin? All right. So this person who wrote this is of Trinidadian heritage and sees Carnival's revolutionary effects as simply accumulating over the decades. So they got a little video and shit. Then they have acts of resistance are always effective. All right. So she was talking about her grandmother and her grandmother's mother, etc. Resistance was inherited. So we do have that warrior spirit to rebel against colonizers trying to suppress our ancestors' spirituality and culture, right? So we must maintain culture, and it's a huge act of resistance, right? And then they touch on MardiGras in New Orleans, Louisiana. We're going to get to Mobile in a minute, but we're going to touch on MardiGras in New Orleans. It is the shit. It is the bomb, and I fucking love it, right? In the US, the most popular carnival, because it is the most popular one. So Mobile is before New Orleans, but New Orleans, they took it to the fucking next level. They put their stamp on that shit. Yes, they did. They put their stamp on this shit. All right. It says the most popular carnival celebration is Mardi Gras, which is traditionally held in New Orleans, Louisiana. Whether the first Mardi Gras in the country was held in New Orleans or Mobile, Alabama, is up for debate. But the Louisiana State Museum suggests that French explorer Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville introduced the tradition to America in 1699 when he celebrated Shrove Tuesday, in which we did talk about Shrove Tuesday a little bit ago, right? We did touch on that, right? At a site some 60 miles away from what is now known New Orleans. In the early 18th century, New Orleans celebrated Mardi Gras with mass balls, parades, and don't forget about the Mardi Gras Indians, right? The Carnival Indians, right? I'm going to have a special guest to expound on that. But the Spanish occupation of the city led to a multi-decade lull in festivities. The Spanish regulated the celebrations, perhaps wanting to put an end to any disorderliness. Hey, you got them Carnival Mardi Gras Indians. Those are dark-skinned indigenous people that put on regalia of their ancestors. Yes, some of them embrace indigenous people of the Americas and the diaspora. And they do include, some of them do include Africans, like the Zulus, etc., right? All right, the first MardiGras crew took the streets in 1857 when the Mystic Crew of Comas, a group of New Orleans businessmen, decided to invent a more civilized celebration after years of rowdy street parties, according to NOLA.com. A few decades later, Negro Indian locals excluded from the mainstream carnival celebrations. Remember, we talked about this. These colonizers tried to take over our shit and then tried to say, oh, y'all can't be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. So our ancestors in Trimmy was like, fuck that. We gonna represent our ancestors' shit, and they fucking did, right? Carnival celebrations established a separate tradition of putting on regalia, dressing up in their indigenous American Indian, Native American regalia, in tribute to indigenous people who were their ancestors and they helped escape people escape from servitude, slavery, prisoners of war in the Americas and on the 7 fucking continents. There were Negro Indians, tribal nations everywhere. Do the research on the origins of every continent. There are dark-skinned indigenous peoples, and they are not all called African. African was like a label that they start putting on everybody. Okay? Just so y'all know, right? I have to set the fucking record straight. All right, so today, New Orleans festivities include friendly competitions between tribes of Carnival, MardiGras Indians, balls. They have balls, ceremonies, festivals, etc., celebrations. They're presided over by kings and queens and royal courts. Plenty of beads. Plenty of fucking beads. Throw me some, mister. All right. Beads. All right. Tossed to jubilant crowds and a small plastic baby hidden in a slice of king cake. Now, I do have some words about the baby and the king cake, right? We can go into that, but I feel that it is something that usurped our ancestors' culture. We our dark-skinned, melanated, indigenous ancestors, we wasn't on no cannibalism. We wasn't on that shit. That shit creeped in by these colonizers, okay? I'm gonna just keep it a buck on how I feel about the shit. So in a king cake, in a queen cake, we ain't having no babies in that shit. When I make a king cake, a queen cake, because I have made them myself and I have bought some, we not having no fucking baby in that shit. Now, you can take many different aspects from that. We not doing no cannibalism. Fuck that shit. But on another side, if you want to look at it like esoterically, spiritually, you can say that the baby can represent the legacy that continues to go on and on and on. The next generation carries on Carnival MardiGras season, the culture and spirituality, celebrations and traditions of our ancestors, right? But we know them colonizers wasn't really on this shit. The true soulful spiritual people, which is Negro Indians, we was on some other shit. Our ancestors was on some good shit, right? Some balanced shit. Excuse me. So now they talk about Quebec Winter Carnival, blah, blah, blah. Canada, it's tribes up in Canada. They have this oldest winter festival, which is held in Quebec City in 1894. It was developed by the Quebec Daily Telegraph owner, blah, 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 as a way to brighten up dark winter days. So they had some celebrations because they had some winter shit, right? So the celebration featured an ice palace, a masquerade, fireworks, and sporting competitions. Quebec Winter Carnival continued successfully for years, with events ranging from canoe race across St. Lawrence River to parade floats, but the tumultuous first half of the 20th century, including the Great Depression and two world wars, stopped the festival from becoming a regular event, blah blah blah. Right? So in 1954, the festival was officially brought back to help the economy and bolster tourism. Since then, it has taken place every winter. The carnival is known in part for its mascot, Bonhomme, a snowman with a red hat, black buttons, and characteristic French Canadian ceinture fléchée, a type of sash. So they give all these different articles, but that was a cool article. It was. I especially like the one that we looked at before. So, the birthplace of Carnival, Trinidad Tobago, the diaspora, various tribal nations throughout the whole fucking 7 continents. We had our ancestors had their own traditions, culture, spirituality, festivals, ceremonies, rituals, etc. We had our own dance, our own instruments, we had our own way of dress, our regalia, etc. Our ancestors were the trillionth OGs of the shit, of culture, right? We showed these people how to bask in culture, right? So, all right, so this was another one. It won't let me look at the text, but this is the Journal of American Folklore. It talks about the Trinidad Carnival, all right, the cultural politics of transnational festival, right? All right, and then we have this book. We're going to look at this book, but let me pull up some stuff about Mobile, Alabama, because I have not really truly highlighted Mobile, Alabama, because they are a part of the Carnival MardiGras culture. I'm going to pull them up because they need respect too. Y'all doing all right in the chat? I thank y'all for tuning in with me. I'm celebrating leading up to Fat fucking Tuesday, Mardi Gras, Carnival. I'm celebrating. I am. What about you? All right. Here we go. All right. So Mobile, Alabama is the official place of Mardi Gras in the United States. All right. So it dates back to 1703. 15 years before New Orleans was founded, right? French settlers brought the tradition to their settlement at 27 Mile Bluff, establishing a long-standing family-friendly carnival tradition. Remember, the diaspora had Carnival Mardi Gras first, and then the Americas had it. But at the core of all the shit, Indigenous cultures had celebrations, festivals, ceremonies, tradition, culture, spirituality, before the colonizers started putting dates and numbers on the shit. We had the shit before 1092, 1094. We had the shit before. Our ancestors did. All right. I'm a descendant. Okay. So, all right. So, French settlers brought the tradition, blah, 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 which they really didn't, but the indigenous people, all right, had it. It was establishing and a long-standing family-friendly carnival tradition. 1703, the first Mardi Gras was celebrated in the New World at 27 Mile Bluff. We did talk about that. 1711, the first organized parade featuring a papier mache bull. They had a bull. It was held with Carnival officially recognized in the city. All right. 1830, the Calbillion de Raquin Society was established as the first masked and parading society. Post-Civil War, Joe Kane revived the celebration in 1866, masking as a Chickasaw chief to lift spirits, creating the tradition of Joe Kane Day. A Chickasaw chief. Okay, and I told y'all, Carnival Mardi Gras stems from Negro Indian tribal nations in the diaspora and the Americas, across all 7 continents, but mainly the diaspora and the Americas. All right. All right. Post-Civil War, Joe Kane revived the celebration in 1866, masking as a Chickasaw chief to lift spirits, creating the tradition of Joe Kane Day. 1940, the Mobile Area Mardi Gras Association, MAMGA, held its first parade, formalizing the Negro Indian participation in the festivities. Mobile Mardi Gras traditions. They have mystic societies similar to New Orleans Cruise. These organizations, such as the Calbillion de Rankin or Order of the Myths, host exclusive balls and public parades. Throws. Parades feature elaborate floats where the riders throw moon pies, beads, and branded trinkets to the crowds. Family atmosphere. Mobile celebration is often described as more accessible and family oriented. All right. Mobile Carnival Museum. In Mobile, Alabama, they have a Mobile Carnival Museum. It is located on Government Street. It showcases 300 years of local history through regalia, costumes, crowns, and memorabilia. All right, just like New Orleans has the Trimmy with the Backstreet Museum. All right, about the dark-skinned Negro Indians, or the Carnival Indians, all right, history and culture. Today, the celebration brings in thousands annually, contributing significantly to the local economy. This is talking about Mobile, Alabama. All right. All right, so we have Mobile Carnival Museum, and then we have Mobile Mardi Gras 101. Let's look at that. All right, so visit Mobile Mardi Gras 101. Did Mobile, Alabama really invent or reinvent or keep the culture going of Mardi Gras? When will it start? What is Mystic Society? Who is Joe Kane? If any of these questions have popped into your mind when planning a trip to Mobile for Mardi Gras, we have the answers. So Joe Cane Day has an indigenous inception, right? It has indigenous origins. All right. It says, how did Mardi Gras traditions begin in Mobile? Mobile's Mardi Gras traditions trace back to 1703, when French settlers held the first celebration to commemorate their first year of survival in the community that they built. You mean the land that they stole from Negro Indian people? All right. Today, the lively festivities showcase a variety of cultural influences and feature parades, all right, elaborate regalia, costumes, and other prized traditions. One of Mobile's highly anticipated Mardi Gras celebrations include Joe Cane Day, an event dedicated to the legacy of the key figure who helped revitalize the city's post-Civil War efforts. All right. Join the crowd in celebrating Joe Cane's impact on the port city on Saturday, February 11th. When is Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras Day falls on Tuesday, February 17th of 2026. Good news. The celebrations aren't exclusively limited to just one day. In fact, the good times are rolling now. Laissez les bons temps rouler. Let the fucking good times roll. All right? Check out the Mardi Gras page and parade schedule, blah, blah, blah. Join the party. What role do the mystic societies play in Mardi Gras? Mystic societies contribute to the lure of Mardi Gras by adding an air of mystery and tradition to the celebrations. These elusive organizations, many with origins dating back to the mid 19th century, coordinate elaborate parades for the public and balls, complete with live music, local fare, and refreshing libations like rum, bourbon, etc. Libations. All right. All right. They have pop balls, um, live music, refreshing libations for their guests. Each organization flaunts its own unique theme and mystique, from flamboyant regalia costumes to intricate floats. Mystic societies combine tradition, community, and revelry, creating an unforgettable spectacle for locals and visitors alike. Throw me some in, Mister. What are some quirky and unique throws I might catch at a parade? Parade throws can range from branded trinkets from the mystic societies and doubloons. I got a whole bunch of beads and stuff. Some of them I got wrapped around my skeleton man, that is a depiction of Ishu and Papa Legba and the Barons, etc. I got a whole bunch of beads. Some with shot glasses, a whole skull, ancestor face, etc. I just put on 3, but I got a whole bunch of beads. Don't get it twisted, all right? So they do these parade throws that can range from branded trinkets from the mystic societies and doubloons to glow in the dark. I have some glow in the dark shit too. Necklaces, sunglasses. I have headpieces, headdresses, hats, etc. Parade goers have even been known to grab up packages of blah blah blah. Konica sausage and Mobile themed plushies. The daiquiris, can't nobody fuck with New Orleans daiquiris. I have yet to try the Mobile daiquiris, but the Louisiana and New Orleans daiquiris, can't nobody fuck with it. Especially that amaretto sour shit. Mixed with all the other ones, they call that, it's a low-key Long Island iced tea, but they call it a suicide because they mix them all together. Okay? If you know, you fucking know. All right. So a tip, be on the lookout for more than just beads and be prepared to duck because they're going to be throwing that shit. You never know when a box of moon pies will be headed your way. What is the significance of moon pies? Mobile plus moon pies plus MardiGras, a true love story. The graham cracker marshmallow filled and dipped in either chocolate, banana, or coconut treats gained popularity in 1952 when organizations began tossing them to parade goers and have since become a beloved and tasty symbol of celebration in Mobile, Alabama. How do local businesses participate in Mardi Gras? Mobile local businesses dive into the carnival spirit headfirst. From bedazzling storefronts to offering special edition drinks and menus with king cake variations, businesses in the area are all about making each Mardi Gras one to remember. So some actively engage by sponsoring parade floats and hosting carnival-centric events. Our local businesses not only celebrate Mardi Gras, but also amplify the community's energy and excitement. Where can I buy a king cake or two? All right. A lot of these traditions are also in New Orleans, Louisiana, but this is talking about Mobile, Alabama. What is Mardi Gras without a king cake? Adorned with purple, gold, and green icing and sprinkles, this seasonal pastry is a delicious centerpiece for all Fat Tuesday gatherings, Mardi Gras gatherings. Look before you dig in. There might be a small plastic figurine in your slice. Tradition states that the person who has the trinket in their slice is responsible for bringing next year's king cake to the party. Want to know where to get your king cake fix? Check out all the king cake makers. You can fucking make your own king cake. I have made my king cake for several years. Okay? If you make your own, you know what the fuck is in it. You have original ingredients, etc. All right? You also can buy the custom famous ones. All right? All right. So then they talk about the convenient spots to catch the parade. I'm going to just show that for y'all so y'all can see the shit. All right. Peace, Chico. I've been running my mouth. We've been talking about the origins of Carnival and Mardi Gras. It started in the diaspora, the Caribbean islands, with the Negro Indian tribal nations there. And then colonizers came and tried to usurp themselves, take over, and then mock the people and say, nah, y'all can't partake. And then it talks about the sugarcane plantations. Our ancestors, after the sugarcane crops have been harvested, they started having celebrations. And they celebrated the good harvest, like good old indigenous people do. We honor the cycles and the seasons of nature in an indigenous way. So, the colonizers wanted to partake and then take over the shit and then insert their paganistic shit into Carnival and Mardi Gras. It originated in the diaspora. They namely say Trinidad and Tobago. We covered Brazil, Bahamas, Barbados, different islands in the Caribbean. We covered New Orleans a little bit, in Louisiana, the whole middle of the U.S. map. And we're talking about Mobile, because Mobile started celebrating it before New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, so we're talking about that. So they just give you some tips on where to celebrate if you're in Mobile, Alabama, to celebrate MardiGras, Carnival, or Joe Cain's Day. Joe Cain's Day is a celebration that has indigenous roots. It's after an indigenous chief of the Chickasaw Nation, basically, and they celebrate. All right, they celebrate Negro indigenous culture, Creole culture, right? We talk about the Spanish and the French influence and the Italian influence with the carnivals of Venice. So we covered a lot. So if you can go back, you can look at it. All right. Peace to everybody in the chat. All right. So this is how Mobile does it, right? And I did pose the question, true or false? You can tell me where Mardi Gras and Carnival originate, right? So is it Trinidad, because that's the flag, Trinidad and Tobago, the diaspora, the Caribbean islands of the Negro Indian tribes there, from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. Or Louisiana, New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama. Main places. So that is the premise of what we've been discussing tonight. All right. Carnival and Mardi Gras, the origins of it. All right. The roots, or the ancient roots, are in indigenous culture. Our ancestors had spirituality and culture way before colonizers came. Okay. So we just exploring the diasporic with the Trinidadian, Barbados. We went over Brazil. I mentioned Cuba, but Cuba has some roots. Haiti, Dominican Republic. They mention those. Saint Domingue, Hispaniola, all of that. Carnival and Mardi Gras is celebrated. And it's respected. We putting respect on our ancestors' names and their spirituality and culture, celebrations, ceremonies, festivals, etc. with Mardi Gras and Carnival, right? Carnival. So that's what we doing right now. So now we're gonna look at a little bit of New Orleans, in which I'm gonna have a special guest later for the Mardi Gras Carnival Indians. So it's just basically Negro Indian people that put on regalia that they hand make, all right, in honor and respect to their indigenous roots and diasporic roots. And the music, the drums, the instruments, the second line, etc. The crews, how they do chants and they compete. They have tambourines, they chant, they have brass instruments, drum instruments, percussion. They make their own regalia and they compete. It's just beautiful. It's just very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. And so they just give you a glimpse of, so Mobile focuses on Joe Cain Day and Mardi Gras Carnival. New Orleans, Louisiana, and the whole state of Louisiana, the whole middle of the U.S. map, the original Louisiana, celebrates Mardi Gras, Carnival, Fast Tuesday, and St. Joseph's Day. All right. We have the Jazz Heritage Festival. You have the Backstreet Cultural Museum, which I will pull up briefly. I have been there. On my special episode featuring Carnival Indians, Mardi Gras Indians, I will show more of that. But this is, in today's time, our ancestors still represent their indigenous culture. They are from the darkest brown to the lightest brown of indigenous peoples. Some call them misnomer Creoles, Creoles, Melungeons, Maroons, Mestizos, all these derivatives, but they're all shades of brown indigenous peoples, right? And of course, we have the Spanish influence and the French influence. We had it in the diaspora and in the Americas, all right? So these are just some Carnival Mardi Gras Indians and their regalia, their handmade regalia. Put some respect on a fucking name. All right. And I love it there. I fucking love it. And this is the Backstreet Cultural Museum. I've been there. It's awesome. It has a lot of rich heritage and culture, history, her story about Creoles of color and Negro Indian tribal nations. All right, a mixture of peoples. So they did open up in 1999, but these cultures and traditions lasted way longer than that. Okay, it can be traced back to 3 decades. All right, when Sylvester Francis paraded with the Gentlemen of Leisure, the Social Aid and Pleasure Club. This man photographing the parade wanted Francis to pay $35 for his own photograph. To avoid such costs in the future, Francis bought both the super 8mm camera and a still camera and began documenting Carnival celebrations, second line parades, and jazz funerals throughout New Orleans. All right, this is all about Carnival Mardi Gras season, rich in culture. So you can explore this site. I have been here. It's awesome. You can book a second line tour, etc. All right. This is shout out to them. This is their address, their hours, their number, etc. Go there. Experience that rich culture, baby. They have the prices, etc. Okay. So this is what we went over. And let's look at this, and we're going to briefly look at the book that I pulled up. And it's talking about the sugarcane plantations, the harvest, and then burning the fields, basically, in rebellion and rising the fuck up and reclaiming ancestral traditions, culture, history, etc. All right, so this is it just talks about when is Mardi Gras. This year is February 17th. That's the last day. We celebrate like the first week of January all the way up to Fat Tuesday, the last day, which is Mardi Gras. The next day incorporates Catholicism, Abrahamic religions, which is Ash Wednesday, when you start to fast, you ask for forgiveness, and you start fasting from something for 40 days. All right, 40 days of Lent, right? So they just talk about Mardi Gras in New Orleans came from a secret society, blah, 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 but it has indigenous roots, right? And they talk about the Abrahamic religions and how basically they influence the celebration. Because the colonizers wanted to be a part of it. So they usurped it, tried to say, nah, y'all can't partake, but wanted to be them and mix with them. They had babies with them, etc. So today our culture is rich. All right, rich, rich, rich. So what does MardiGras mean? Mardi is the French word for Tuesday. Gras means fat. In France, the day before Ash Wednesday came to be known as MardiGras or Fat Tuesday. We talked about all the derivatives of Carnival and the different names from Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago, etc. All right. We covered different places in the diaspora and how the celebration went on there. And it goes on there today. It's alive. All right. Florida goes hard for Mardi Gras. Texas, they go hard. Texas, they go hard too. St. Louis, closer to me, they go hard also. With the St. Louis cemeteries, all right? They go hard for Mardi Gras. So it's just real interesting, to cover all the different stories, but it actually originated in the diaspora, and our ancestors took it to the next level. So you got a king cake right here. You can make your own. I will post some recipes. I have made my own several years and decorated it myself. I have hundreds of beads. These are just 3. I just put on the purple, gold, and green to represent. But I got a whole bunch of beads. I got a whole bunch of shit. I love it. So they have all the shit. We ain't gonna look at all these little commercials and shit. So they talk about the cruise, and it's basically stuff that I have went over. Bead throwing, Zulu coconuts. And this is kind of reminiscent of the diaspora, the islands, where they celebrated dark-skinned indigenous cultures of all that. Flambeau, fire, fire, fire. The blazing torches lighting the way for parade goers during nighttime Mardi Gras festivals are called flambeaux or the torch. And they date back to a custom established by the original Mardi Gras crew, Comas. And we went over this, all right? In the mid-19th century, the torches were a necessity due to the lack of sufficient street lighting. The original flambeau carriers were indentured servants, prisoners of war, and free men and women of color, and their torches were probably made with shredded rope soaked in pitch and set ablaze. All right. Crowds lining the parade route would toss coins to the flambeau carriers, a tradition I did related to the sacred fires, how the sacred fires are lit in indigenous tribal nations cultures. You have the new fire, you have the fire, you have the sacred fire, you have the fires that are put out, but that new fire is lit. You have fires that stay lit, etc. Don't let nobody put out your fucking flame. Don't let nobody put out your light, your shine. Don't let nobody dim your shit. Your bloodline culture, tradition, ceremonies, festivals, heritage, etc. Don't let nobody dim your shit. All right. They talk about the king cake. We talked about the king cake, etc. I gave my also observance and opinion about this shit. So you can look at many different things about Carnival and MardiGras. It is so rich. So rich. So the last one is this little book, right? Carnival Camboule. That's the burning of the sugar cane from the sugar plantations, right? So I came from this book. A lot of the articles that I read from basically borrow some things from this, right? All right, let's look at the table of contents. Oh, this shit got a limited view. They on some bullshit. Okay, but this is a book. Let me pull up some other book sources that you can look at. Okay, let me pull them up for y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in with me. Here's a book source. Trinidad Carnival, all right, the cultural politics of a transnational festival. This is a good book source, right? And I tried to pull this up. It only gave me a limited view of it, but this is a good book source, right? And watch when you see stuff about the word African. That word comes later. These dark-skinned indigenous people are many shades of indigenous cultures. They're from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. And they were called by their tribal names in their tribal languages, their tribal nations' tongues, before the word Africa or Akpulan even existed. Okay? So this is a good book source. You can get this book or read it somehow because it's been giving me trouble on reading it. So it talks about Caribbean nations. Trinidad has felt the effects of globalization on its economy, politics, and expressive culture. Even Carnival, once a clandestine folk celebration, is an indigenous celebration. It has transformed into a major transnational festival. In Trinidad, Carnival, all right, it is an international group. Okay, these international scholars explore Carnival as a reflection of the nation and culture of Trinidad and Trinidadians worldwide. These 9 essays cover topics such as women in Carnival, the politics and poetics of Carnival, Carnival and cultural memory, Carnival as a tourist enterprise, the steel band music of Carnival, calypso music on the world stage, Carnival and rap, and Carnival as a global celebration for readers interested in the history, her story, and current expression of Carnival. This volume offers a multi-dimensional and transnational view of Carnival as a representation of Trinidad and Caribbean culture everywhere, the diaspora, the diaspora. All right. So this is a good one. It's a good source. All right, you got that. And then let's look at this one right here. So you got Bibliovault. They got 14 books about Carnival. All right. All on a MardiGras day. Episodes in the history, her story of New Orleans Carnival. All right. This is from the Harvard University Press 1995 with this colorful study. Okay, it takes us to Mardi Gras, to a yearly ritual that sweeps the richly multicultural city of New Orleans into a frenzy of parades, pageantry, dance, drunkenness, sacred inebriation, music, sensual sexual display, and social and political bombast, and all on a MardiGras day. All right. It has intriguing stories of Carnival since 1804, the Haitian Revolution, and then coming down to New Orleans, etc. Woven into the narrative are observances of the meaning and messages of Mardi Gras themes of unity, exclusion, elitism, course, through these tales as they do through the Crescent City. Cajun women and Mardi Gras, reading the rules backward. You got that one. Carnival and other Christian festivals, because Catholicism did usurp and get mixed up in there. All right. Folk theology and folk performance. Carnival, entertainment and posthumous tales. All right. Carnival in the countryside, the history of Iowa State Fair, blah, blah, blah. Carnival theater, dancing, the politics of pleasure at the New Orleans second line. This should be a good one right here. On many Sundays, Creole, Negro, Indian, New Orleans dance through the city streets in second lines. These processions invite would-be spectators to join in, grooving to an ambulatory brass band for several hours. Though an increasingly popular attraction for tourists, parading provides the second liners themselves with a potent public expression of Negro Indian resistance. All right. Then they talk about this book, Erotic Islands, Governing Sound, the Cultural Politics of Trinidad's Carnival Musics, Masking and Power, Mocking Desire, When the Devil Knocks. All right, Winter Carnival. So those are some good little book sources. Does anybody have any comments, questions before we close out? Because I've been on here almost 3 fucking hours. But it's a celebration. I'm counting down to Carnival MardiGras season. I'm counting down. What about y'all? What about y'all? All right, so I will close out, but this concludes part 1 of this installment. We count down to MardiGras, and I plan on having a special guest to tap into the Carnival Indians, the MardiGras Indians in the New Orleans culture. All right, during Carnival MardiGras time season. All right, but this concludes Origins of Carnival and MardiGras. I do want to share some things before I close out, because I pay homage and respect to my ancestors. And I did share my disclaimer, because I don't play, right? Let me pull this up. And we're going to close out. I'm going to pull up some things and just pay homage and respect. so basically, y'all saw this. This was the premise. You can tell me where MardiGras and Carnival originate. Trinidad and Tobago, the diaspora. Louisiana, the whole original state, the whole middle of the U.S. map. New Orleans, Louisiana is kind of like the fucking capital of the shit. And then you have Mobile, Alabama. All right. This was the premise of the shit, right? So, all right. And then we have, let's go back. So I do have to give honor, respect to my bloodline ancestors. The Creoles, Melungeons of color, those Negro Indians of Louisiana, the whole Southeast and Northeast, right? My matriarch, my mother, my beautiful mother, this Caddo Creole woman that has several tribes in her bloodline. Got a little bit of Cherokee, a little Choctaw, but mainly that Caddo, Haddacho, that Creole mixture, right? And her mother. I don't have her father on here, but he inherited land of the Caddo, Haddacho. His family stayed with that land, and it was passed down and passed down. So I'm giving honor to my mother, my matriarch, my goddess, right here. I love her. She's my favorite girl. My mother, her mother. I don't have her father here, but yes. And her mother is listed as mulatto on the census because of her lineage, right? This is me and my mother. And this is me, all right? This is my mother's recipe, even though my mother, me and my daddy love spicy, fiery, flambeau, fire shit. We love it. My mother, she kind of likes the little mild but savory version of it. Me and my daddy, we love the fire spicy shit. But this was kind of like my mama's recipe of jambalaya that I made. And I did put, yes, I did put some seafood up in there. And it has the Creoles of color, because when you hear about Creoles, Creolos, Melungeons, they are many shades of brown, from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. The free Creoles of color, right? So I got to give homage and respect. And this is an old picture of the Creoles of color. You see how the darkest brown to the lightest brown. And this is in the state of Louisiana. My mother is from the state of Louisiana, and by definition, she is a Creole, besides the indigenous tribal nations that flow through her bloodlines, her veins. And I'm her descendant. All right. So we have that. So let's see. We gave shout out to my matriarch and her matriarch, which is my matriarch. All right. We did that. And I'm just doing my closing out remarks. If y'all got any comments or questions, now is the time to say or ask. And I do thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. All right. I do appreciate y'all. I'm representing. I'm representing, baby. Yeah. Yeah, baby. New Orleans. The Nola, baby. I'm representing. Let's see. All right, I'm sharing my last little screenshots. And we gonna get up out of here. Let me pull this up. Let me see. So if y'all missed the installments before, I had a couple of installments before. We talked about the sugarcane plantations. We talked about the different drinks that come from sugarcane, like rum, etc. We talked about absinthe, the herbal drinks, hoodoo, voodoo, etc. We talk about all of that. You can check my resume. And let me pull up this. Let's see. So I do have my link tree. If you want life path session reading sessions, I got you. Or if you want your indigenous astrology, I got you. I have oracle decks that are patterned after Creole and indigenous culture. So I'm still doing those for sure. I give herbal tips. I give homework, etc. If you do one of my specials, etc., I got you. But this is my link tree. It has a link to my store, my website, and my YouTube channel. If you want to go to my store, around this time, we dealing with my store and the Oracle design. I got workout gear. I got yoga mats, Pilates mats. Got workout gear, leggings, shirts, sweatshirts, half crop sweatshirts, etc. I got the Oracle, the spiritual messenger, prophetess type energy. I got it in the purple and gold, or the black and gold with the turquoise. I got those. Oh, wait a minute. Bam. Here we go. So this is my store. You just click on the link. I have the Oracle collection. I have the yoga mats, workout mats. I got the black and gold with the turquoise. I also got the purple, gold, and I got the different designs. I created all these designs, and they are put on these products. So I thank you all for your support. I got the decorative pillows. I even got a bathroom set for the shit. Workout gear, straight workout gear. Got my signature shit, my logo. I even have the honor and respect to the ancestors, especially the matriarchs. Yeah. Some of these things are seasonal, so we have those. All right. And if you go to my link tree, like I said, link to my store. My website, my YouTube channel, my social medias, etc. So my links, my website, my YouTube page. So it's my website. I have spiritual culture. I have examples of spiritual sessions. I use the Toltec Oracle, the American Indian Oracle deck, the Voodoo, New Orleans Voodoo deck. I got the Diasporic deck with the old Rishas, the Loas. Yes, I have my Journey to Sacred Sites, etc. My link is there. RRJXI Tips is my link to everything. RRJXI Tips or Ravenredtailhawk Jaguarxi, which stands for she. If you pull that up, I'm doing a special. You get 3 sessions within 1 month or 2 months. You get 3 sessions. All right. 1 is your Indigenous astrology, and then you get 2 sessions. I just feature my partnership channels, Masters Table Talk with me and my cousin. We just showcase, promo, or ads, or products and services. I do spiritual work. She has a spa. She's an esthetician. Y'all know that I'm a spiritual messenger, a spiritualist, etc. So, in Southeastern Talking Stick with me and my cuz, we do Indigenous history, her story. All right, so check out my partnership channels, y'all. Check out my partnership channels. And I appreciate y'all. I really do. I thank y'all for tuning in and rocking with me. Yeah, I even have a lot of sacred sites that I've been to. I showcase that on my website. And you can contact me for a spiritual session on my website. Just go to my link tree or RJXI Tips under link tree, and you will get the link to contact me. This is just me. I went to Cahokia, which me breaking down the name Cahokia. I've been there. Powwows, New Orleans, me at Marie Laveau's supposed cemetery plot shrine in St. Louis Cemetery in New Orleans. Went there. I went to Wakanda Springs. I've been to Chichen Itza, the Itza Maya, Yucatan, Mexico. Been to Poverty Point in Louisiana. All right, so I got a little bit of everything. I got blog entries with information, oral tradition stories, etc., my products, etc. So you get a little bit of everything on my site. A little bit of everything. Yeah. So I think I'm going to close out. But around MardiGras time and Fekete, I always focus on the Oracle design, which is my core products. So I appreciate y'all. Yeah, Chico, we went over a bunch of shit within 3 hours. The origin of Carnival, MardiGras, up until now. Okay. That's what's up. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank y'all for rocking with me. And we count down to Carnival and MardiGras. We are counting down. We are counting down. So I thank y'all for enjoying my Fire Fridays, Defy Fridays, Fur Fridays, Flambeau Fridays, Fire Fridays. Thank y'all for everything. I appreciate y'all. And y'all have a good, safe night, winter night. It is cold and snowy here in the Midwest. I don't know about how it is where y'all at, but days like this, I'll just be in cozy and sipping on my sacred libations, honoring my ancestors, and vibing with y'all. We didn't have a podcast last Sunday, but we should have our Sunday panel discussion this Sunday. So y'all stay tuned for Southeastern Talking Stick Podcast, my partnership channel, and of course, me and my cousins' promo page, advertisement page, which is Master's Table Talk, for my services as a spiritualist, etc., artist. And my cousin, her products, she's an esthetician. She does services. We have products and services. So y'all check us out. Check us out. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night. Peace to everybody. Appreciate y'all.
Coffee pot, filet gumbo. For tonight, I'm gonna see my Michelle. Big guitar, Wilford Jar, and Miguel. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the fire. Everybody sing. Tambourine, coffee pot, filet gumbo. For tonight, I'm gonna see my Michelle. Big guitar, Wilford Jar, and Miguel. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the fire.
Laissez le bon temps rouler. I hope everyone is having a fantastic time and enjoying all the festivities here tonight. RRJXI Tips. Subscribe now. You won't regret staying informed and getting the latest updates, so go ahead and hit that button. Laissez le bon temps rouler. I hope everyone is having a fantastic time and enjoying all the festivities here tonight.